We are live.
Hey, I'm Michael Dorinda.
And I'm Jake Bennett.
And welcome to episode 73 of the North Meets South web podcast.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. It is a late evening on April 4th. Did you guys do anything fun for April Fools? For your kids? Well, for your kid? No, you have kids now. Kids, multiple. Just the other one's not here yet.
Other one's on the inside at the moment. No, we
Did you
didn't
do anything to Ree? Did you do anything fun to prank Ree? No?
No, so I think we talked about this maybe on last episode or maybe on Laravel News. Where she works, they normally get maybe 1,000 volunteer inquiries per year.
Okay.
Since most of the average age of their volunteers is like 70, and people over the age of 70 need to stay at home. So they have lost a huge chunk of their volunteer base. So they put out like an emergency, hey, we need volunteers to deliver meals and this and that. So they've had, I think, close to a year's worth of inquiries in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
So she has been very, very busy. So it's best not to do anything to antagonize her at the moment.
Pregnant and very busy at work. Yes, bad combo. Do not want to... I was going to say poke the bear, but that would maybe sound disrespectful. So no disrespect, Ree. We love you.
Yes. So, no, we're being nice to Mama, and daylight savings ended here overnight. So Eli, of course, woke up at 5 to 5, and then he wants to see Mum, and Mum has to give the bottle when he wakes up. So I change his nappy. He sits down with Mummy for a bottle, and it's usually a 10-minute thing, but he was awake for like 40 minutes or so this morning, and I dare not go to sleep if Ree is up with him. So I was, on my phone, and then I put the phone down when she came back to bed, and so then this thought popped in my head over some stuff for work. And then I was like backwards and forwards, this thing in my head, what I wanted to do for work, which, obviously I don't have to worry about until tomorrow, but it was just in my head. And I'm like, I could do this or I could do that. And what if I did this? And it doesn't happen often, but it's really annoying when it does, because that 40 minutes of being awake ended up being, an hour. And then
you can't get it out of your head. And then it's,
And then I woke up with
I hear that.
So I brain dumped it all onto whoever needed to hear it at work. And left it at that. But fortunately, after he went back to sleep, I think the last time I saw the time was just after 5. He woke up around 7:30, which was not too bad. He slept from like 7 until 4, 5, and then another couple of hours. So it was a good night's sleep overall. It's just it just shakes you a little bit when you get up so close to when you would normally be getting up anyway, and then you're like, So but he's been down for a nap now for a couple. I think he's still asleep. He was still asleep when I jumped on the call with you. So he's been asleep for
fingers crossed
hours now.
Fingers crossed. Let's hope he makes it through the recording.
Yeah, on a good day he was asleep for like 3 hours. So
yeah, it's about the same over here. It's good. It's good. It's plenty. It's good, and it's enough time to get some stuff done, and then actually have a little bit of time to yourself. So
yeah. How about you? How was your April Fool?
It was good. I'm trying to remember if we did anything funny to the kids. Not anything crazy. We actually challenged people at our work to do stuff to their kids and then record it. And one lady told her kids that they had to repeat their grade next year. Like that was like that state came out and said all the kids that are in school who are being like pretty much homeschooled have to repeat their grade next year. And the girl's like, I'm not doing that. I'll be homeschooled. I'm going to homeschool next year then. I'll like finish the grade again. And like I'm not doing that. I will not do that. And just like she was so irritated. It was pretty funny.
It's funny.
So we actually, this is kind of cool. So half of my team is like the creative / marketing team for our company. And during this COVID-19 stuff, like, I don't know, like there's some marketing stuff you could be doing, whatever. But I mean, we were trying to figure out like, what could we do to kind of help our people in our building, right? And so we have about 250 people, and we went from 30% remote capability to like 95% remote capability over a weekend. And so everybody's remote, a lot of them for the first time. And like a lot of these people are not used to like not being with other people and whatever, right? So we decided that we were going to do a daily show. So we figured out how to do the whole live stream thing and OBS and soundboards next to your computer and like video switchers and camera setups. It was really, really pretty cool, actually.
Nice.
So we've been doing that, and that was like that April Fool's challenge, whatever. It's one of the recordings we shared on the show. So it's been really fun. It's been a cool kind of experience. So along with that, not any really thing related to programming necessarily, but one of the things I had on my list to talk about today is about OBS and Restream and all of that stuff. So I got set up with that over the weekend, and it's been pretty neat. And actually, kind of like a relevant announcement if you're into streaming, is that what's the name of the service now? Streamlabs. Something. Thank you. Streamlabs OBS, which is like a customized version of OBS that works with Streamlabs now, I guess. Is out for Mac. I think it was only previously a Windows thing, but now it's out for Mac. So now is a great time to get into streaming if you have not. If it's something you're interested in, I think this makes it a lot easier. So pretty much need honestly, you don't really need a whole lot. You could set up with like your current webcam or whatever. It's nice to have like a mic and maybe some lighting, whatever. But it's pretty neat. Pretty neat.
I saw that it was out during the week, and I had a bit of a play around with it. So the software that we use for this and for Laravel News when we do our live streams is called Ecamm Live, and that will pick up my digital SLR as a camera input, which is good because you get the direct feed and all of that. Streamlabs OBS doesn't, but it does allow you to capture a window. So you have to install the Canon EOS utility and essentially just capture the live preview of that. And
as like your video.
Yeah, so I was having a bit of a play around with it during the week. It would be cool to use it if I do like some coding live streams, which is something that I can actually conceivably do now, considering I'm working from home, so I don't have the office around me and other people around me during the day. So it might be something that I'll look at, assuming there's anything that I can actually share moving forward in the future. But yeah, it's cool. It's a lot more slick than the default OBS.
Is that what you've used in the past for your streams? Is it just regular OBS?
Yeah, I've used OBS in the past, and then when I picked up Ecamm, I've used that, and it's nice because it gives you some basic overlays and allows you to handle screens and things like that. Yeah, but it's kind of
you can add like media, right? You can add media. You can have like different scenes, whatever. You can like have fades between scenes, and you can customize you can put your webcam as a circle in the bottom right. You can do any video overlays, anything you want. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Which is what we're doing, and I added this week our Twitter handles and the North Meet South logo onto the video.
Oh, nice.
So, but yeah, OBS just gives you a little bit more, and it lets you hook into like all of these style themes that you can get. I most of the ones that I saw were all the premium ones, but there's some like free ones as well that you can play around with, which gives your stream a little bit more candy to look at, I suppose. But if you're programming, you probably don't want to detract too much from like your editor or anything like that. So
sure, yeah.
But something I'll probably play around with a little bit more, especially once we get then Ping Me out there and we can start looking at maybe the public bits of it and things like that. So
that's cool. The other thing I've been using it for is OBS this week is actually one of the questions we've had is how do we keep people informed of all the different like features that we're releasing with our internal software, right? And so, I mean, we've got we just finished upgrading every one of our Laravel apps, internal Laravel apps, to the latest version of Laravel 7 and getting on PHP 7.4, which is an accomplishment, let me tell you, because we have at least 25 apps out there, and not all of them are on like Forge and Envoy, or like we have some of them on IIS, and it's been a bit of a pain, honestly, to get them all running on PHP 7.4 with the latest version of Laravel, which is, I'm so stoked.
7.4 would be trickier than upgrading to the latest version of Laravel, I think, because there's a few things that are different in 7.4, like accessing, properties of, or accessing array keys of nulls and things like that doesn't work anymore like it used to. You used to be able to use the null coalesce operator, whereas now it will throw a warning, which of course Laravel catches and turns into an exception. Yeah.
Believe me, we've had our fair share. Like we've had our fair share of like stuff that. So one thing that we did is we ran this PHP upgrade compatibility checker that like runs through all of your code and says, show us anything that does not work with 7.4. And it is a pretty decent job.
Was it Rector? Is that what it's called?
No, although that is one that is actually one that'll do the fix for you, I think. Yeah. But yeah, Frank talked about that this last week, Rector. And there's also PHP CS Fixer, I think. Is that one?
Yeah, that's the one
does
that
that
we
do
use.
something like that?
Yep. But that's more around code style than compatibility fixes.
Yeah. But Rector is really interesting because you can actually write your own sort of like app stuff for it. So I actually was talking to Jason McCreary about this a little while ago. Like, we have these 25 apps, right? And it's somewhat common actually that we'll find something that's like, oh man, we got to update this across all these apps now, right? And like for something simple, right? For example, we say like, oh, we're going to be switching all our logging to Papertrail. And so we need to go through all of our logging.php and change our stack to be daily and Papertrail instead of daily and syslog or something like that, right? And so we have to go in and do it for all of them. That's a pain. It'd be much nicer if we could just say like, Rector, go run this thing against all of these or whatever, right? Something like that. If you had like this ability to basically do like a shift, a micro tiny shift on a app, since all of us are on 7.4 now, all the configs look practically the same. It'd be really nice to be able to do that. And I think Rector sort of gives you the ability to do that too. But I'm trying to remember what I was saying now. We were getting on 7.4. Oh, and so anyway, like we're now back into development mode where we're actually pushing features out, right? And it can be, I mean, even with a small team, even with only like 3 people, if you're doing your job well, there's a lot of stuff you're pushing out each week. Like there can be a lot of little features that really just kind of get lost that nobody really knows about. And I mean, because like a specific team or something will ask for it, but it applies to a lot of people. So how do you put that out there? Well, one way is like a change log, right? So you have a change log, but do the people read them? Maybe. Another thing is like a blog, but if it's a decent feature, like it's going to have a little bit of a length, and if they don't care about it, they're not going to watch it, right? So basically what I did is I was using OBS to record these little screen shares, essentially, where I would just kind of walk through the feature, like keep it under 2 minutes, right? Yeah. It's got my little video in the bottom left, so it feels a little bit more, or actually in the bottom right most of the time, so it feels a little bit more personal. So it's not so like sterile, just like a screen. You actually can see someone's face explaining it, which actually adds a lot of like warmth, if I can use that word. Yeah. And so people are more than likely to watch it. And then I made, we kind of have built a custom blog on top of Nova. And now what it does is if there's a featured video, as soon as they click to that blog post, it shows it in the very top and auto plays it. So it's pretty cool. So I've been using OBS for that as well. And it's really nice because I can do whatever the heck I want. Like if I can think of it, I can do it in OBS, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely want to have a play with it. I've used Ecamm to do like 1 or 2 videos for work. Same kind of thing where we've made some changes to our CRM. So I've recorded that as a video and did the whole intro. You know, talking into the camera is actually really hard to like look at the camera. It is.
Oh my word, you're right. Wondering. It is. It is true.
I've been watching. Adam tweeted yesterday a video from Sam Selikoff where he did a training session at EmberConf. Well, it was supposed to be at EmberConf, but he's released it as a video. And so he's done that now and put that out. And like he's really good at that kind of stuff where he's talking to the camera and the video cuts between him and the screen and things like that. So there's obviously a bit of post-production that's gone into it as well. But it's really hard, especially for those of you that watch the stream. Like I was trying to talk into the camera, but at the same time, looking at the camera, I'm not making eye contact.
You're looking at the wrong camera too, because I can see.
And it's different because for the stream I've got the SLR, but for you for Skype, it's looking at the other camera, so I've got to look at slightly to the.
That's hilarious. Right, so, that's so funny. I didn't realize that.
It's really difficult because I want to, I want to look you in the eye, but to look you in the eye, I have to look in the camera, but then I have to look at the right camera because I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the camera, which is where you see it. So
that's so funny. Yeah, it's a process. I've actually been watching. So I don't know. Like it seems like almost it's a little bit late to get in on the game. Like you almost want to get in. Like so, Justin Jackson, that marketing for developers. I remember, man, I was reading his stuff like 4 or 5 years ago before he ever was in the Laravel community. I was watching his stuff. I was always like a big fan of his work, and he would always say like, "Go where no one else is." Right? It's sort of like that. Blue water, right? Like go for where like there's nobody else there, and like that's where you should just start. And so like he was one of the first dudes I know of that like started streaming or doing YouTube stuff a lot. Right. And so now he's got quite a bit of a following because like he was one of the first ones, not the first ones, but he was an early kind of adopter in that space. And now It's like, it used to be even like, oh, there's, everybody's got a podcast. Well, now it's like everybody's got a streaming channel. Everybody's got Twitch. Everybody's got a YouTube channel. Everybody's got all that, right? So it's kind of like, do I even want to be that guy who like jumps in at the last minute? It's like, hey, I've got one too. Like, me too. Come look at my stuff. It's like, I don't know. Like, so maybe I just do a TikTok or something, I don't know. I have no idea. But seriously, that's what it is. Like, it's like you go to the spot where nobody's there yet, like, and be that guy, be the first one.
But this is the thing everyone's doing, and especially now that more of us are working remotely, it's easier because you don't have the distraction.
That's the only reason I'm doing it.
Behind you and things like that. But it's getting to the point where there's some saturation now, where heaps of people are all doing it at the same time. So on Friday, Matt Stauffer, who does his regular stream on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then JMac was doing one, and then I think someone else wanted to do one as well. It's like, hey, I'm going to stream, and it's like, then it gets too much, and it's like, well, who can you watch live? It was Caleb. Yeah, who can you watch live? And then who are you going to watch? And are you really going to watch a replay of someone live? Live coding is the kind of thing that you want to be involved in, because that you've got the interaction part. Whereas going back and watching something after the fact is not as much fun, because there's nothing to interact. You can't interact with the person that's giving that presentation, so it's a lot trickier. The Sam Selikov one was good because it's designed as a tutorial as opposed to a code along. So, and for me, I can't be involved in most of them anyway, because your time zones are all out of whack. So Matt's like,
I'll be real honest. I've literally, I don't think I've ever watched a live code. I don't think I've ever watched a live code, which just, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's like I don't know. My time is so limited, I feel like, and it's like I literally, if I don't know necessarily that I'm going to be learning specifically something when I'm watching it, it's like I don't necessarily have the time to tune in. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a young man's game. It's a young man's game.
You can't even keep up with Twitter. You're not going to keep up with everyone's live streams.
It's true. Oh man, my word. Like, yeah, it's true. It's true. It's just, it's getting to that point. But hey, that's okay. So anyway, that's kind of like OBS, Restream, live streaming. It's cool. It's a thing, right? I'm glad people are doing it. I think it's really interesting. I don't know that I'll be able to really jump on the bandwagon. I'll probably have to find something else. But
yeah, the only thing that really annoys me, even like not even just live streaming code, but even when we do this podcast, I've got this $4,000 laptop that as second I open a camera, the fans just spin up to infinity, and it's just hovering on my desk. Doesn't matter what. Like, as soon as I open Ecamm, and the same thing with OBS, as soon as I open it, the fans just spin up. It's ridiculous. I don't know what it's doing. It can't be that hard to stream video.
Correct. I know, man. Like, I've been thinking more and more about getting a Windows machine again, partly because I can't play Rocket League on Mac anymore because they stopped doing updates for Mac. So like, I literally haven't played Rocket League in like a month. I don't know.
Turns out I got Rocket League on the Switch.
Yeah, I do have.
Yeah, the other day. Well, I'm like, oh, it's on there, so I could play it.
I have it. That's where I originally bought it. It was on the Switch. I bought it on the Switch originally, but it's the controls are not great. Like, even with the Pro controller on the Switch, like it's so clunky. I like, after I played with the PS4 controller and on my Mac, like going back to the Switch, it feels like I'm driving a semi. Like, it's just like so. Like, seriously, it's weird, which sounds so silly, but it's true.
The only thing I'm using the Switch for at the moment is Ring Fit Adventure, because the weather's
that's really cool
now. It's starting to take a turn.
Wilbur Power just got that.
Yeah, I love it. It's hard work, but it certainly is a workout. Like, you wouldn't think that running on the spot is gonna do that much for you, but it's not that much. It's probably even harder than running on the spot on a treadmill, because the treadmill is obviously moving for you. So when you're running on the floor, and then you're doing crunches and squats and things, and that ring doesn't look like much, but when you're squeezing it over your head, you find out where you don't have any muscle. I would suggest that probably it's no good for Adam Wyland, because he will break that poor little thing, because he's a bit stronger than the rest of us. But it's just something, because the weather was really awful yesterday, and I did manage to find a crack in the rain to go out for a run.
I saw that,
which was good. My knee, it was a little bit sore last night, and it's a little bit more sore today. And I've got, the calves are a bit tight, but that's more because I haven't actually been for a run for 16 months than anything else. But I'm slowly getting back in there. But it's been hard not leaving the house. Not so much from the fact that I'm going stir crazy. And I know people go stir crazy because they can't. This is fine. I love not. Before I used to have to come up with excuses to not leave the house, whereas now it's like, well, I'm not allowed to leave the house unless I'm going shopping or, dropping Eli off at childcare or whatever. So it's really good. But because I'm not leaving the house, I'm not at the office, I don't go to the gym. The gyms are all closed. I can't go to the gym even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But when I was at work, I'd go to the gym at lunch. I'd go to the gym on the way home from work. Whereas now, I've got to go out for a walk. I've got to go outside. It's starting to get colder and windier. And yesterday, because I took Eli with me, so I'm pushing the pram into a headwind, and it killed me. That was the slowest I've walked in weeks because this wind was just right up in my face. And the pram, we turned it around so that he had his back to the headwind.
Sure, right.
So that he's getting a face full of cold wind outside.
Right.
And it was a nightmare. It was such an effort.
It's weird. Like, I feel like I'm with you, not because I go to the gym every day, but because like when I'm at work, I typically am up and moving. Like, I'll be in my office for a little bit at a time, but I'll have a meeting or I'll need to go discuss something with somebody, or I'm going up to get coffee or something. Right.
Yeah.
And I get up. Like, I've noticed since I've been working at home, the days are so much longer because I literally, I wake up and like, this is unhealthy. My office is like in our bedroom.
Yeah.
As you can see behind me. And so like I wake up and I get on the computer and I'm here. I'm at work, like, which is convenient because there's no commute, but it's also like there's no boundary, right? Yeah. So it's like I'm at work and it's like I sit in this chair until lunch.
Yeah.
And then after lunch, I sit in this chair until work's done. Like, I don't get up, like I don't have a standing desk at home. Like, so it's rough. I mean, it's been not great, but I will say, go ahead.
Did you give up the Apple Watch, or have you still got it? Yeah.
Ding.
So is that not getting you up off your ass every hour?
Oh, you know what? I think I turned it off. I should turn it back on. I turned it off. Yeah, I need to turn it back on.
Because Eli's at childcare, when I get up in the morning, I've got to go and take him to childcare. So the routine's kind of the same, but instead of going to work, I come back here and then I have breakfast and whatever, and I sit down and I start to work. But I've got...
Yeah.
Is it there? I have a couch here, so when I stop for lunch, I mean, this week,
nice.
The weather's been nice. I've gone down to the park and I've got some shots up. But
I saw that too. I remember you recorded that and put that on your channel.
I recorded me dunking on an
That's right. That was
ring.
That was funny.
I sent it to a few of my old basketball teammates, and they're like, "Oh, it looks like you're jumping okay, you're landing fine.
Looks like you're back in it. Let's go."
I'm
right?
like, no, this is as close as I'm getting to playing basketball.
I'm retired. That's funny.
So, but it's good because and most of the people that I work with, because we run a contact center, so they're normally in the office. So now it's like getting into their mind that like, don't just roll out of bed 5 minutes before your shift starts and sit down at your computer. You've got to get up. You've got to like, even the little things like putting on your work shoes. Just put work shoes on, just something to like signify that the workday has started, and then taking them off at the end of the day to signify that work has ended. Yeah. Because a lot of these people, because they don't work from home, or they don't necessarily have dedicated spaces, so they've got their computer set up on their kitchen table like Ree has.
Sure.
It's very careful.
Oh my gosh.
It's very hard. Like Ree, for example, because she's been so busy, once we get Eli down to bed, she'll go and sit down at the table and work for another hour or so at night. So, you have to be careful if you've been thrust into working from
remote work. You got to set like your schedule. Yeah.
Because you still have to have a schedule. You still have to, like, people are saying they've lost their commute, so they used to catch public transport and things like that, so they're not walking to the train station, and so they're not getting the exercise. I'm like, well, you get a 30-minute lunch break. It's just a matter of making time for it. Like, if you don't have time for exercise, you make time. Like, you get up half an hour earlier, or you go for a walk after work or whatever. Being from home and not having to commute home, it means that when I finish at 4 or 4:30, I can go for a walk for 30 minutes. So you just got to find the balance. The hardest part for me is being at home with a kitchen that I can just go into, or a pantry that I can just go into and then grab junk, right? Just
totally.
And we've got, like, I keep it in the house, and it's a matter of like training the willpower to like, don't eat that. And I've kind of been calorie counting since the start of March, just because when Adam tweeted that he'd lost a bunch of weight and he was looking really good, I'm like, you know what?
That was pretty unbelievable, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's time for me to like lose the weight that I put on being lazy with this knee injury. So I'm back down now to what I was when I had that surgery, which is good. And I probably want to go a bit further. But because I'm not doing any weights and I'm not, I don't have access to an elliptical or a airwalker or whatever you call them over there. It's a bit harder because going for a walk is not quite the same intensity as jumping on the elliptical with a cross trainer for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever. So,
for sure.
And running's difficult because I haven't done it for so long, but slowly working my way back into that now. But just having the temptation at home and avoiding it. So going back to the Adam thing, I said to him, what are you using to track calories? And he sent me the app. It's called Lose It, LOSEIT.com. There's a app, there's a iOS app, there's an Android app, and just being able to see that and say, okay, this is what I've consumed today, this is what I've got left, and knowing what you can have. And this is now all of learning about portion control, where it's like I could drink that flavored milk. Like I used to have a bottle, it was a 500 ml.
I remember
bottle,
that. Yep.
And I would just drink that and it'll be fine. But when you're looking at what you're consuming and you see this thing and it's like it's 17, so we do everything in kilojoules, but you're in calories. So this thing's like 400 calories. It's just for a bottle of milk, for flavored milk, because it's all sugar. So you look at that and okay, all right.
And milk.
If I want to fit this in to my daily goal, I've got to have like 20% of that. So I took a photo of it and I sent it to a friend yesterday, and it's like I've got to have an espresso glass. Like that's how much I can have. And so I put it into the espresso glass so it feels like I'm having like a full serving of it.
Sure.
Yeah, and these are, the tricks that you play
Little
on your
sips.
mind. Like you don't have a huge amount of food, so you put it on a smaller plate. And when the smaller plate is full, it looks like you're having heaps. So just these little like things.
That's a good idea.
And it's not like going crazy. It's not like I'm going extreme on macros. Like I'm not keeping my carbs and my fats and my proteins at different levels. I'm just keeping it under that. And so I'm doing to hit my target was 1,800 calories a day. And most days I'm at a 1,200 calorie net. So I'm 600 under on most days. And so
that's pretty dang good.
That factors in exercise as well. But most of the days I'll probably consume maybe about 5,000 kilojoules. 5,000, about 1,200 calories a day I'll consume, plus or minus exercise. So my original target date for my target weight was the 9th, I think, of June or something like that. And it's down to the 28th of April. So end of this month, I should have lost.
That's awesome, man.
Which would be about 11 kilos, which is, I think, 20 pounds, 22 pounds.
That's really good. That's really good.
11 kilos in pounds? 24 pounds, yeah. So
that's pretty crazy.
Since the beginning,
that's a big accomplishment.
I did this for the wedding, and I did that over like 6 months. So doing it in 2. So it's extreme, and it's kind of like, it was my grandma's birthday yesterday, and so I got some Black Forest cake, and I'm like, okay, so this Black Forest cake is just from an arbitrary bakery. How do I count this? And that the Lose It app is actually really good in providing these things, and it allows you to do it by like serving, which is sometimes a little bit arbitrary. Like, what is one serving of cake? It had one slice. I'm like, well, what's your definition of a slice?
Exactly. Sure, how big is that slice?
I'm pretty sure my definition of slice is not the 400 calorie slice that you've got here. Or 200 calories or whatever it was. So luckily it allowed me to do it by weight. So
there you go. Nice. Yeah, man. I the only thing I'm doing right now is Canico, the man who so generously donated our logo, challenged a couple people to like do 100 burpees a day. Bro, that's been brutal.
It's hard.
Been brutal.
Can I just call someone out? Can I call someone out?
Do it.
Abigail doesn't listen to this podcast, but she posted a video of her burpees, and those are not burpees.
I didn't see. What did she do?
That was a half burpee. Burpee.
Does she do a push-up?
No. So she went down. She did the push-up, and she got up, but she only like stood up like halfway. She was like this 45-degree bend, and I'm like, you got to go all the way up. You got to clap the hands, and you got to back down again.
Oh gosh, bro!
You can't.
I'm telling you,
that's 50 she's done. Not 100.
So
50.
I'm probably doing 30 then. I mean, literally, like it is so bad. It is so bad. I'm definitely not doing burpees. That's why I will never record myself doing a burpee. I am doing a version of a burpee that I found on YouTube, but I'm like, okay, like this dude knows what he's doing. Like this is how you do it. Because I was like, I don't know, like I was getting really like, because I mean, you can like injure yourself, which sounds so silly, but like if you're not doing like if you're not like doing the squat first and then like whatever, like you can do some stupid crap. So and I'd never done it before. So anyway, I'm working on it, right? Like I think the first day I did like 50. I just like literally forgot. Like I just so then the next day I did 100. Yeah. The next day I did like 100 and I'm like, okay, I'll make up the other 50 like later. And then the next day I was back to like 60. Like totally again, like just one of those things. Like and then today I'm at like 80, 70, 78. I have to do 30 more tonight. So it's like, gosh, it's going to be like 1 a.m. I'm going to be doing burpees. That's what it was. The other day I got 100. I was doing crazy. It was like in the middle of the night. I'm like doing burpees before I go to bed. Stupid. Anyway, hey, I wanted to talk about a couple things related to our development stuff. So
yeah,
I have a couple tools I wanted to talk about. So maybe Notion, maybe not. I just give it a quick promo for this. So you've noticed this. I've been using Notion a lot. Thanks. And you said, I don't know what you said. You're like, you've gone kind of crazy with the whole Notion thing.
You've gone off the deep end. You've absolutely gone off the deep end.
So, okay. So I just wanted to share a couple of things, what I like about Notion, and maybe it'll be a tool that you'll be able to use too. But a couple of things I like about Notion is, number one, it's really easy to use. And it's gorgeous. It's freaking gorgeous. Even if like you use it just for like the stuff that I use it for, which is literally like bullet points, scratch pad, checklists, like simple. And then the thing that I really like about it is it allows me to create infinitely nested pages. Like I can just create as many pages as I want, and any pages inside of those pages, and any pages inside of those pages, inside of those pages, whatever, right? Like, and then it also makes it super easy to search. So I press Command P, start typing the name of the title, and there we go. Like, no big deal. It's awesome. It just gets me exactly where I need to go. So it's easy also to share stuff. So I can share a Notion document and collaborate in real time with somebody if I care to.
Which works most of the time.
Yeah, which works most of the time. There's a couple tricks to it, right? You can set up workspaces, or you can have like shared items, or you can share like just a particular page. But I like that. I think it's also pretty cool for things like if you go to Tailwind UI and you go to any of their documentation or any of their licensing information, guess what it's written in? It's written in Notion, and it's just a publicly shared page. Like I love that. It solves these problems really simply. I did that for my Laracon online, kind of like live notes, right? Super simple. I think those are the things that I wrote down. I use it for like my scratch. So I have like a meeting that I'm going into that I know is going to be discussing some items that are going to possibly turn into a feature or whatever. I can just write them in there, and then I know they're there, and I can just get rid of them. It used to be like I'd write them in Sublime, but I didn't have an organization system for them. So they're just kind of like saved in a folder somewhere now. But with Notion, it's all saved like as you're typing it. So I don't have to worry about losing anything, right? Which is really nice. The other things that it does, which I just noticed today, and there's so many features I don't use yet, but you can create something called like a gallery where it not only has like the pages that are sub-nested underneath of it, but you can show a preview of the contents of those pages. So I manage a small team. So what I can do is I can have a page that says the week of April, what is going to be 7th, the week of April 7th. And kind of, I usually have like kind of a running hit list for each one of the people that's on my team. And what I can do is I can create a sub page for the week of March, or the week of April 7th. And I have like Jake's list, Michael's list, Wilbur's list, Gergely's list, Aaron's list, whatever. And then I can use a gallery to view the content on those pages. So I can kind of see like a summary of the checklist items that I've kind of assigned to them.
Yeah.
And just kind of keep track of like where things are. With that many people, it's very difficult to keep those things in your head. Like what are they waiting on me for? Like what are the things that I'm supposed to be helping them with? And, like you constantly are getting interrupted through the day too. And it's like you have to categorize that thing that somebody's asking you to do. Is that my list? Is that their list? Did I ask them to do it or not? And so yeah, it's pretty cool, but there's a lot of interesting features. The only thing I'm not crazy about it for is it gets really expensive if you need to kind of like deploy it over an entire organization. It can get pricey pretty quick, right? So if you actually wanted to share it across everything, it gets expensive. But that's also where you would get the most benefit, I think. Like if you wanted to have like a knowledge base or share like HR documentation. They've really got some interesting stories out there, how Notion is being used in different organizations, some stories about it. Like they're really nicely shot videos. And I know Figma uses it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's my Notion pitch. We'll put a link to my referral code in there. Basically, you don't have to buy anything. It's just if you sign up with that referral code, then I get like, I don't know, it was like $5 for free or something because I currently am paying for it because I love it that much. And then you get $10 free towards a subscription as well. But anyway, I've really been enjoying it. It's pretty cool, and you should try it out if you haven't yet. So yeah. Hey, speaking of,
I was going to say,
go ahead.
The thing that I've found Notion actually really nice for is doing quotes for clients.
Oh,
not in a formal like structured line itemy type thing, but just in the fact that it spits out a nice looking PDF. You can write it all as markdown, and it allows you, like the way that I did it when I did some quotes recently was to put like a background and a purpose in there, clarifying what the scope of work was, responsibilities in terms of development timeframes and hosting environments and things like that, and then just shunting the quote as like, this is the deposit, this is the progress, and this is the balance, and these are when those things are due, and then talking about all that kind of stuff. So that was really nice. The other thing that I use it for is documentation for work. So I put in there like our standard Envoy config, standard server configuration. So if we spin up a new server, here's all the I could use something like Ansible or some automation, but like here are the things that I copy and paste into the terminal to get up and running, right? So those kind of things are really nice because when you put in a code block, you can just hit copy to clipboard and it'll grab everything that's in that code block. And then, so I copy to clipboard and then I just paste that into the terminal.
Yeah, the code blocks are really beautiful too. They do a really good job with their code blocks.
So, it goes through all the things like, first thing you need to do is enable Nginx and FPM and supervisor, and then you need to create the directories. So copy and paste this and throw that in there, and then permissions and SE Linux and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't need to worry about it. Now, ultimately, I probably could create a playbook. I'm sure Chris Fidal's probably got a course out there on how to use Ansible. And if not, I'll probably pester him about it. But, all these kinds of things, just to make life easier for us, because we don't have the ability to use, Vapor or Forge or anything like that, unfortunately. So, and it's not like we're spinning up servers very often, but when we do, we're setting up 2 at a time because, we've got the
high availability. Yeah.
So, and just the thing that makes it really simple, I can copy and paste it from the Notion document, but I've also, because I use Tmux, I can SSH into 2 servers at once and just paste and just like
that's nice.
Get both of them done. So, Ansible would be nice, but I don't know that I need it, to be honest.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Speaking of like referral codes and stuff, we should talk about use Fathom.
That's a great idea.
/north.
Fantastic idea.
Yeah. So actually, Fathom Analytics, if you haven't heard of it, is simple analytics for bloggers and businesses. So they basically take the problem of analytics on your website and simplify it down to a single page in real time that you can use to view everything that you would want to see on a single page. There are no cookie notices required, which is amazing. They're GDPR compliant. You can have unlimited websites, and it's instantly ready for huge spikes. So they actually had a recent episode of that with the COVID-19 stuff. There was one page that was being monitored on Fathom that just got absolutely hammered, and no problem because they're running it on Vapor, which auto scales using AWS. So really, really amazing. They've been featured on Fast Company, GitHub, Product Hunt, Hacker News. DHH has been giving them some love recently. So if you haven't heard of them yet, you should definitely go check them out at usefathom.com/north. If you use that link, you will get, I believe it's a 14-day free trial and about a month and a half worth of free credits after that. So it's really, really good. You can't go wrong trying it out. You should definitely use it on your page. It's awesome. So check that out.
Yeah.
In addition, Jack Ellis has a course out there. Michael, maybe you could tell us a little bit about that. And then you could also tell us about this amazing credit that we got.
Yeah. The serverless Laravel course, I just finished it a couple of days ago, going through all the videos. It goes through talking about all of the ins and outs of getting up and running on Vapor, about getting your environments up, tricks around good ways of, when to use different parts of Vapor. Instead of making it up, maybe I'll just log in and go through some of the videos. Might be easier.
And cut.
Slap. Register with your license key. How do I log in? I just want to log in. Oh. I just went through the course. I don't remember any of it.
It's hilarious.
This is why I was never good at studying. Couldn't remember when it came time for test. So it goes through introduction of what serverless is, getting set up and running in Vapor, getting your AWS credentials set up, creating your first project, the YAML configuration file that Vapor uses, how to point your custom domains, talks about how Laravel uniquely handle, I don't know if it's unique, but how Laravel Vapor handles environment variables and secrets, disabling services you don't need, working your way around, avoiding cold starts and when to use databases and when to use things like Aurora DB versus using a multi-region database, scaling, queues, handling static assets, file systems, networks, and security. There's a few videos yet to come around business and costs and how to persuade your boss or your client to use Vapor, how to estimate your costs, real-world cost examples, which are coming from Fathom Analytics itself. So they've got about a year's worth of data on that, and Jack's always looking at refining his approach and how they do that kind of stuff. So it's a really good course. It's quite in depth in terms of coverage of different topics and things that you'll encounter running a PHP and Laravel application on a serverless infrastructure. So if that's something that you're interested in, check it out. I'm pretty sure he's got $100 off at the moment for all you people that are cooped up at home and need something to do with all that free time.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just good people. They're Laravel community members, obviously, so support them if you can. That would be awesome. Hey, I also wanted to say real quick, if any of you are working for nonprofits out there, there's this awesome site called TechSoup. This is not a sponsorship read, so it's just for free here. So TechSoup.com basically is for nonprofits, and they can get you all sorts of discounts on different products or even on hardware. And one of the things that they can do is you can get $2,000 worth of AWS credits for a $175 admin fee, and you can do that every single year. So
Nice.
I just did that for the nonprofit we work for. So that's not a startup, right? It doesn't qualify for any of that. But you basically go to TechSoup. You can sign up for TechSoup for like $50 for the year, and then you pay a $175 administration fee, and it gets you that $2,000 worth of AWS credits, and then you just renew it the next year. It's pretty amazing, really.
Yeah.
They've got all sorts of stuff. They got stuff for Zoom on there. They've got stuff for any Microsoft products. They got all sorts of stuff on there. So if you work for a nonprofit or know of somebody who works for a nonprofit or runs a nonprofit or whatever, let them know about that. It's a really, really cool organization. The nonprofit I work for has been using it for years. So you got some really cool stuff out there. Yeah, check that out.
Excellent.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk about a couple tools that we haven't actually had a chance to talk about in real life because we're both busy people. But you recently contacted me about Minio. So I was curious if you want to talk about that for a couple minutes.
Let's do it. We did eventually get it up and running.
Okay.
It's a bit...
Maybe we could explain, first of all, for like maybe people who don't know what Minio is, like what exactly it is. So sometimes it's actually better to have the person who's newer at it describe what it is because you have just been recently messing with it. We have a question up here. I'm just going to message...
So Minio is it's an S3 compatible self-hosted object storage application. So essentially you can install it as a Docker container, or you can run it on the bare metal server or whatever you've got and point it at a directory and say, this is my object storage. And then you essentially just configure your Laravel application to talk to Minio. Now there's a little bit of specific configuration that you need to do because whilst the API is S3 compatible, there's some configuration that you need to do around endpoints and URLs. And our internal URL that we upload to is different from our public URL, so we needed to do some configuration to separate that. But for the most part, like, it's really quick. It's self-hosted, so if you need a data warehouse, your own stuff, like we need to, for our ISO certification and things like that, and keeping all of our customer data in Australia, and we've got storage up the wazoo, so why not? We just got our guys to set this up for us, and we just use it for customer file uploads. We use it for invoices. We generate them from we generate a PDF of an invoice and it stays there in perpetuity. We do installer photos and things like that. Like, essentially anything that requires storage of files, we're now using this for. So,
oh, dude, it's so freaking amazing. It is, isn't it?
So much easier.
You literally, before this, it's like you either had to have co-located storage on the server that you're hosting the website on, which is not great because that really ties you. Like, you can't just move your code now.
Yeah.
You have to like move all of the files along with your code. So like the high availability stuff becomes very difficult, right? You have to have like a file server that's sort of divorced from the web server itself. And so Minio makes that super simple. So yeah, think of it like, you just host your own AWS instance, essentially is what it is, your own S3 instance, as it were. But the other thing that you can actually use it for, which is nice, is testing locally. Although I will say this isn't as necessary as it maybe once was. Now that we have storage fake inside of our test layer, it's not as necessary. But if you're wanting to do sort of like, for me, there's 3 layers, right? You have production, and then you have your unit and behavior test, or unit and like, I don't know, feature tests. And then you have like this middle layer, which is sort of like dusk tests, right? So what do you use in that dusk test layer? You kind of have 2 options here. You can either, at the time of your running those, you can swap from using S3 to using local, right? You can make that switch. But that's sort of a little bit of a weird switch because you actually have to change the disk you're using. So Laravel has this weird thing where you can say like, use the cloud thing, right? Yeah. And you can, in your env, have what is the cloud pointing to? Which disk is cloud pointing to? So when you say storage cloud, when you're production, it points to S3. But when you're in local, it points to local, right? Or if you're in testing, it points to local. But that doesn't work if you have more than one disk that you have listed, which in all of our cases we do. So you can't use that sort of, because you can't have cloud bind to like more than one. So it just doesn't work, right? So, anyway, you still need to be able to kind of handle this sort of in between layer when you're like testing locally, and so you can use it for local testing, is what I'm saying. You can run Minio on your machine and basically have your own S3 running locally. And then that will allow you to kind of push to a S3 compatible endpoint and see everything as it should work in the production environment, which is pretty cool. So that's nice.
Nice.
Yeah. So like, but that right there, in that case, that is sort of like where you end up with having to write this custom driver for the S3. Or for like what your config looks like, right? Because if you're using S3, you'll have a region, a username, or a key, secret, and then a bucket, right? And that's kind of it. But if you're using a Minio endpoint, you also have to have use path style endpoint set to true, and then you also have to have like host, and it points to actually where it's hooking up to. So there's kind of like 2 additional items you have to have in there. Anyway, if you're curious about it, there's 2 things I could recommend you do. Number 1, there's a blog post on Laravel News that you could check out where Paul Redmond talks about it. But number 2, if you have any questions, literally reach out to me. I've written some documentation up for this that our company uses, just like some heuristics around like when you should use what, like when you're testing, how do you do it, based on like if you're using it for production and local, how you handle it. Anyway, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'd love to help you out. I love Minio. We've been using it for like 3 years now, and it's been really awesome. So
nice.
Yeah,
it's been really good for us so far, and it's really quick. So that's handy as well. I mean, not to say that S3 isn't really quick, but we've got immediate access to it locally. So that was key for us. Not to suggest that S3 isn't secure or anything like that, but it just made sense for us to make use of the infrastructure that we already have.
Exactly. The other tool I wanted to talk about is, well, let me ask you first. Like, what do you use for testing of emails?
Locally,
Yeah,
I'm just using Mailtrap. Just send it straight to
Mailtrap.
Mailtrap.
Cool. Yeah. So I've heard a lot of people. Well, actually, so Mailtrap. Talk to me about Mailtrap. Is that the one that is like, what does it send it to 0.0.0 or colon
No. So
whatever?
Mailtrap is mailtrap.io. It's just a hosted thing. So
That's what I thought.
you can
Okay.
put 50 messages in there in the
Well, it's
free
actually
tier.
sorry. It's not what I thought. There's there's another one called Mailcatcher,
Yeah,
which
there's
is
Mailcatcher and there's
that's what I was getting
Mailhog
confused about.
as well. Yeah, they're
That's
I
the one I was going to
essentially
talk about. Yeah.
all of them do the same thing. And then Marcel is working on his new thing at
Hello.
the moment, which is called Hello, spelled HELO, um, which I thought was clever. If you've never talked to a mail server over Telnet, you probably don't get the reference. So, um, yeah, there's all these different things. I just use that because it's easy. It's only one form of rendering though. It doesn't, Outlook always butchers whatever HTML you send to it, and Gmail does its own thing because it doesn't let you put in external CSS and things like that. So there's things like Litmus and whatever else that allow you to test your HTML emails in multiple clients, but those things are, I think if you're doing heaps of them,
You
it
probably are
probably
using a
makes more
different tool
sense.
anyway. Yeah.
Well, if you're doing heaps of them, like $30 or $40 a month or whatever it is probably reasonable if you're doing a
For
lot of
Litmus, yeah.
email. If
Yeah.
you just want to come up with a template and use that for everything, it's probably overkill. You might spin it up for a month just to make sure that your templates look fine across everything, but
Yeah.
I think the new Laravel 7 mail templates look really nice and clean anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I use Mailhog as well. I've seen different people talking about different stuff. So like Mailtrap, for example, like I've never used a hosted service for it just because it seems like a little bit annoying to have to like go do that. Like I have to go send it in there and then go take a look at it in there, like when I can just do it from my browser locally, which is really,
Yeah.
for me, it feels more handy. The one other thing I was going to talk about with that is something that I just introduced into Then Ping Me, which I don't think it's actually even in the pull request yet. But this idea of mapping development routes. So I think we've talked about this on the show maybe before, where it's like if you're in an environment that's not production, then in your route service provider having this idea of development routes, right? And so in ours, what we also try and do is we'll try and have a section in the development routes that's mailables. And then we actually when you go to the development page, its index kind of lists out like here are all the things you can go to, and there's one heading called mailables, and it'll push in links to like all of our development routes that will render the mailables. And so the mailable will actually do all the work of setting up like the factory, like here's a user, here is the project that they're working on, and here's it failed, the project failed. Okay, now push that into the mailable and render it right in the view. So then you can just go click that link and go look at it, which is really handy because sometimes in your tests, for sure, like in your tests, you're not rendering them out typically, right? So it's like
No,
you may be testing that you're sending them. You're testing that you're sending them, but you can't see them, right? You either have to locally go set up the world so that you can test it in Mailhog or something, or you can do sort of there are a couple of packages out there that will do this for you as well. But I've found the development routes to be a pretty handy way to do it. So yeah, it's kind of nice.
Very good.
Cool. Let's see. I did have one more thing to talk about. How far are we along in the show here?
Well, we're like 50 minutes.
About 53. Let me ask you, is there anything you wanted to talk about?
No, I am. I actually one little thing I saw, just going back to the Sam Selikoff video that I mentioned at the start of the show. I will include a link to it in the show notes because it's like an hour and a half. It's really well put together. It focuses specifically on using Tailwind with Ember and extracting Ember components and things like that. But one thing he had in there, every time he saved, all of the Tailwind classes shuffled around in the class attribute. And there is a plugin for VS Code, and I don't know if there's one for PHP Storm, but the VS Code one, because it's built for IntelliFence, so as part of the language server, there is a Vim port of it. And so it gives you two things, this plugin. Number one, it gives you completion for all of the Tailwind classes, which is handy if you want to see, does 8 become 16 or does 8 become 20? I know that with like height, it goes to a certain point and then it jumps and there's always one missing. So I try and reference 48, but it goes to 56 or whatever, or 54 or whatever it is. So it's nice having the immediate reference in your editor for the class names. The other thing that it does, I know that heaps of people ask Adam, well, I don't know if they still do, I know that they did previously, like how do you sort your classes and how do you remember and all that kind of stuff. So this VS Code plugin is called Headwind, and essentially it will handle two things. It will handle consistently sorting your Tailwind classes, and it will make sure that you don't have any duplicates in there. Oh
man, so what is this called? Headwind?
Headwind. Yep. So VS Code Headwind. I don't know if there's a PHP Storm variant. I obviously don't look for it because I don't use it, but there is a Vim
Shame
one.
on you.
There is a Vim one which works exactly the same as the VS Code one. So it'll sort them all so that you never have to worry about, like, do I put the width here first and then the flex?
Oh my
and then all
gosh,
this
that's
other kind
so
of stuff.
nice.
And it will make sure that you don't have any duplicates, because once that line of classes gets very long, you don't know if you've duplicated any classes. So it handles all that for you. So definitely check that out if you're using Tailwind and you're in VS Code, or if you're in Vim. And I assume someone will port it to other editors if they haven't already.
There's one called Tailwind Formatter for PHP Storm, and it looks like there's a couple different ones. So, yeah, that's interesting.
I never have to worry about it again. It just does it. We'll just do it. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So there is one. A guy named Walrus Soup is the guy who made it. Is the guy who made this Headwind port for PHP Storm. So that's pretty cool. I will be installing that immediately.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I actually have been looking for something like that. So that is so nice, because it's like sort of frustrating. How do which order do I put them in? Like, I've kind of got my own order that I've put them in. So like I do typically like layout. So like, am I doing flex? Am I using block? Am I using whatever? What's the width kind of? Am I using a max width? All of that. And then I will do like colors, so like background colors, text colors. Then I'll do like text size. Then I'll do like margin and padding last. So that's kind of like my set. But I mean, I don't honestly care as long as it's consistent. So that's pretty awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? I had one more topic to get into, but I don't think it's necessary. We can talk about it next time. It was just around the idea. We have this. Here's the preface. So this nonprofit that I work for before me, it was just before me, but they had a team of about 4 people who kind of did web stuff for them. And I think their sort of process for determining where they wanted to buy a new domain name from was which one was having a sale that week. And so there is domain names scattered freaking everywhere. Mm-hmm. They're all over the place. Name.com, namecheap.com, hover.com. I mean, you name it. I mean, like GoDaddy, like they're all over the place, right? And then they decided to put the actual DNS locations, like where they were actually controlling the DNS, like where the name servers were pointing to, in different locations as well. So some of them are DNS Made Easy, some of them are AWS, some of them are Cloudflare, some of them are Rackspace. And then they have the servers that they're pointing to, of course, everywhere as well. You've got DigitalOcean, you've got Rackspace, you've got FTP. I mean, literally, dude, it is the biggest headache. And then you've got certs that are from different places as well. So I went through and I got all the domains. And here was the problem. The real problem was they had the credit cards that were on file for these things expired.
Oh, no.
Oh, no is right. And the email addresses that they were notifying were for the dude that no longer works here. So, lo and behold, the president of the company is at a training seminar and it says, hey, go out to this website and check out our stuff, blah, 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 whatever. Oops, it's no longer there. Yeah. So you want to talk about it being a priority real quick?
Yeah.
It became a priority like overnight, right? So I went and found like all the domains and said, okay, which ones are important, because there's a list this long and I'm going to have to go dig on all of these things. So tell me the ones you care about and tell me the ones that you don't care about anymore. And so we went through this massive list and we've got about like 15. So I have to go in and find like where they're registered, like who, where does the DNS actually, like where was it purchased, and then where's the DNS pointing, and then where the names, what name servers is it using, and then where's that DNS pointing to, what server, and then all that stuff. So now I'm just going to centralize all of it, put it in 2 services. I don't even care how much it costs. I'm using Odeer to monitor certs and uptimes and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Whew. It's a project. Anyway, we can talk about that next time.
Yeah. Cool.
Good times. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. This is episode 73. If you like the show, please feel free to rate it up. Share it with your friends. That would be awesome. I know it's a little bit late as well, so those of you who are hanging out with us on Twitter, on YouTube, or whatever, thanks for joining. Let's see here. Show notes for this episode will be at northmeetsouth.audio/73. Thank you again to Fathom Analytics for sponsoring the show. Very appreciative for all that they do and for the awesome platform and service that they provide. And let's see, what did I miss? Show notes, rate us up, 5 stars. That's it. Oh, questions. If you have any questions, hit us up. You'll know where we're at. I think that's all. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to bed.
Good night. Farewell. See you all in 2 weeks. Make sure you stay at home.
Stay home. See ya.